Hello, Magic the Gathering players. We're playing a game of Old School today. Have a little twist on the classic red-green deck, revolving around Mana Flare, which says whenever either player taps a land, it adds an additional mana of the appropriate type. So some things we can do with that is try to cast Force of Nature and actually pay its upkeep costs. Would be fun to be able to berserk one of these. Maybe play out a Shivan Dragon and really buff it with the extra red mana we get from the Mana Flare. Or even play something tricky like an Inferno, a really powerful instant spell that you don't see played much in the format because of how much it costs, but maybe with Mana Flare we'll be able to get it out. Other than that, it's I would say pretty standard cards you're going to see in a red-green aggro deck, from the Llanowar Elves to the Curd Ape, the Berserks, the Giant Growths, of course the Erhnam Djinns. Potentially can play Erhnam Djinn with just 2 lands if we get Mana Flare out. And then for power, we're running 2 Mox, a Lotus, and 1 Ancestral Recall. I definitely think this deck has room to be tweaked and to grow, but let's see how it does today.
Oh,
yeah. So
okay, I can see you're in the middle of turn 2.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then so the Curd Apes, I don't have any forests online, but I wound up just playing them out in case I get a forest later.
It's pretty good,
right? I mean,
having 2 Curd Apes.
Although they are just 1/1s.
Well, right now they are.
So yeah, different deck than previously. The Underworld Dreams deck will be back.
I hope so. That's a really fun deck. But it is nice to see Curd Apes.
Right? Good old Curd.
With a volcanic island.
Yeah. Not the Arabian Nights Curd Apes, but they're, we love them anyway.
They're just as good. Oh, and another volcanic island.
To this point, yeah. Kind of fretting. They're just 1/1s. They're not really too scary.
Not yet, but it's funny how they can 1 land drop and all of a sudden they become threats. An Uthin Troll.
I mean,
classic Uthin Troll.
Attack for 2. People love the Sedge Troll, but when your deck has a lot of red in it, I mean, his cousin, the Uthin Troll.
The Uthin Troll, his cousin Uthin really kind of comes in, and he's not to be overshadowed. And he drops a city, and he's still not really playing anything out.
No.
And there's another city. City for a city. Let's see. We're gonna activate. Yeah, there we go.
To this point, yeah, I mean, if
that's a lot of damage swinging in
right
right
moving
there.
slow, you feel like you want to take advantage of it.
You want to take advantage of that, yeah, for sure, absolutely. And
that's a crumble.
Oh, it's a crumble.
Yeah.
That's a good play.
Yeah, Factory is vulnerable to disenchants, crumbles, shatters. Right, there is a lot that you could run.
There are a lot, and people know that factories are a staple,
Yeah.
and they're going to be used quite often, so they always have those threats either in their main board or in their sideboard. And there comes a library. That's an excellent card,
Yeah.
especially early game.
We wish it.
And wow, it's really just a lot of inactivity over on the island side of it.
Yeah, I mean, one difference between I actually forgot to do the Sylvan Library. Classic, you play Sylvan Library. I forgot to do it, but there I did.
and then
I
forget
did
that
it.
it's there.
I mean,
Yeah.
one thing in new Magic sets is they really try to not have mana droughting and flooding happen. But in Old School,
In Old School, it is something that happens often.
It's been a part of the game, so we'll see.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are, number one goal of tooling a deck and tuning a deck is to make sure that you do not run into those situations.
So here, I wind up taking damage and drawing an extra card with Library.
Okay, so what do you take an extra? Do you take 2
No, it's
damage
4.
or
4
2 damage?
for
Oh,
every-
4
yeah.
damage for the one extra
Yeah.
card. That was a lot more severe than I remember it being. Yeah, wow. Woo. But I mean, the huge advantage of the library is just being able to see what cards you have every turn.
And it's
which is really interesting if the other player does have an Underworld Dreams out.
Of course, absolutely. And then also in a situation like this where you okay, well, he's in mana trouble, so I'm gonna pay the life, draw cards, and go, right? Like,
yeah, while he's at this point really of no threat to do any damage to you. Oh, he looks displeased.
So and he's
oh no, that looks like a scoop. Yeah.
So the video here cuts to the next game 2. But that, I mean, look, that happens sometimes. You build the best deck and you just don't get.
And you just kind of sit there, sitting duck. It happens, and neither player really wants to see it.
Yeah.
It doesn't make a fun, engaging game.
I do find a lot of the videos though when you watch on YouTube where these people have like the perfect openings, like everyone's got like just the exact cards they need, and you're like, are these edited? Were these edited, or am I just bad? Like,
you know what I think it might be. I think they're heavily curated.
Right.
They're like, what was the best game out of this whole tournament between 20 people and 20 different games. Because I think if you were to show all the games, you would probably run into more than a few games where it's just someone sitting there bumming on their hand without any lands to play or too many lands to play.
Yeah. So look, on this channel, we show you the real games. Land drought.
we show you the real games.
Land drought and you lose.
You drought and lose. Welcome to the real world.
So he mulliganed on that one, unfortunately. So again, game 2, it's now the pressure's on, like, you have to win, right? It's game 2, like, you can't.
I mean, you might even be, I don't know, you might have an easier time deciding to mulligan on game 2 because you know that if you can't get the cards you need to win this game, it's over anyway. And you got 2 Moxes coming out on a turn 1. That's very strong. 2 Moxes, not a land drop yet. I guess you could say you don't necessarily need one, but there it is. That's, I mean, the best kind of land.
So I mean that is an opening.
That's a strong opening. 3 mana, City of Brass. So you have access to anything you really need with that.
So I will say,
but it doesn't empty your hand out, though. It does empty your hand.
Now I do remember in this point I have a wheel in my hand and I was contemplating using it. And
ooh, you know what? I would have used it.
Okay.
I would have used it.
This is the pause here. You go, what's the pause on your opening turn? It was, do I wheel?
Yeah. That's a big decision to make. But I mean, dropping out 3 cards immediately, you're gonna drop the wheel. Yeah, that's your 4th card. You only have 3 in hand. You get to draw a whole new hand.
You're up on mana.
I would have done it. You're way up on mana. Yeah. But a recall is also pretty damn good.
So that was the issue. I was like, do I wheel out my recall?
Do you wheel out your recall? Yeah, you know what? Yeah. Now, if you had an ancestral recall, then yes, I would have done what you did. Yeah. Now, if I didn't have the recall, and if you didn't have that recall, I think you probably would have played the wheel. But having that recall, it makes a whole lot of sense to use that first.
So so I felt like I mean Mox City recall, like you're like, this feels very good.
Very good.
And this is not doctored like the other YouTube videos. No, I'm kidding. We were just talking about openings, by the way. He's fraud.
This is not fake news.
This is not.
So he's having another rough game. He drew another land drop and passing of turn, and you're gonna throw out an Erhnam, which
2.
is and fumble out a fireball.
Whoops.
Oh, and look what comes out.
I was very surprised at this.
You don't see
especially
it often.
Early when you have 3 lands.
When you have 3 lands, but I mean, it's a gamble. But it's a gamble that could pay off really big. Now, I think is it a 5?
It's a 5/6.
A 5/6.
Flying. So and
I like
and my
it.
thought, I mean, the thinking here is, well, if you only have 3 lands, maybe he has 3 lands in his hand to feed it.
Right,
You would
right,
think.
right,
But
right,
yeah,
right.
this is a very early aggressive. And look, Arabian Nights battle here. You got Erhnam Djinn and
Arabian Nights is just a
I know,
very strong
I know,
set. It's just an
I know.
excellent set.
And the was it Serendib Ifrit? Is that what that guy is? Yeah,
Serendib
Serendib versus Erhnam. Let's
versus Erhnam, and the Erhnam I think is at a
five.
four
Oh wait,
four
I think
five,
so, yeah.
right?
I believe so.
And despite what the illustration shows, it does
Yes,
not have
yes,
flying.
we should. I have made that mistake.
I made a mistake. The first
Yeah.
time I actually saw it, I just automatically thought it was a
He
flying
is
creature, and then
flying.
realized, oh no,
He's
it's not.
flying in the picture.
He is flying in the picture, but according to Garfunkel, he's
Yeah.
not.
So at this point, I was a little shaken by the play and wasn't sure what to do. Remember, I still have the wheel.
You do still have that wheel. A mana flare. Okay, that's really interesting. Now we already know you have a fireball.
Yes. How do you know? Oh, I dropped it onto the board.
You know, just intuition. Now you
Intuition.
use that fireball to take out that. Take out that dip?
So that was then the pivot. So this whole game, like, I'm gonna wheel, I'm gonna wheel, I'm gonna wheel, and then I'm like, no, I'm gonna test the recall. No, I'm gonna Ernie. No, I'm gonna fireball. Right? I kept pivoting.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of where we're going. So he sacks a city.
And is that an unstable
That is
mutation?
unstable mutation.
Whoo.
Yeah. So he just does 8 to me. I'm down to 10.
That is a hit.
Yeah, and
Now you got a real threat. So next turn it's going to be a 7,
Yeah.
right? So I mean, it's still
yeah.
you got to deal with that,
So at this point, I'm sweating at this point. Like,
right?
and
Yeah,
if you think
yeah.
you have opening hand Mox, City, Ancestral Recall, and then somehow I'm on the back foot. I wasn't really expecting this.
That one card, that one card that's overlooked quite often, and and then a time walk. That's a big That's rough. Now I don't know if you have any answer. Something.
If only, if only I had like a red elemental blast, which it was not in the main board. So, okay, he takes a time walk.
There's
Yeah.
another.
So we were wrong.
That thing's
He
just
actually did
chewing
not
them
have
up.
any other lands. I was wrong.
He just
Yeah.
went for it, but he did have that unstable mutation.
This was not working out as I expected.
No, it really threw you for a loop
Yeah.
there. And he's just doing serious damage. What are you down to? 3 life. Oh, but the wild crow. Oh, what an excellent. I gotta say that was
That
beautiful.
right?
I mean, that card did exactly what you wanted to do.
Yeah. So looking back at that, and somehow, like this amazing. I thought I had the best opening possible. I had the fireball to kill it.
You did. You had a really great
Had the
opening.
mana flare, had the fireball, ancestral recall, and just get blitzed.
But that's what that
So
card
looking
does.
back at
That's
it,
what
looking
it does.
back at it, like I should have again when he played it out early with no land, I should have known something was up. You know that
Something was a little
something was-
fishy playing out a Serendib Djinn.
yeah, that early with no land, with only 3 lands. So he takes game 2 with a blitz.
That's this man. It's great to see.
Yeah.
It's great to see the Serendib Djinn come out and actually
Yes.
do what it's meant to do. Just come out there and hit you really from left field, and you just don't expect it. And that time walk was
Brutal,
just perfect.
So I always say this player, he makes very cool decks. I give him a lot of credit for the decks he's making.
Oh yeah, plenty of
Yeah, a lot
spice,
of
really
Arabian
good.
Nights. But look,
And here you come out. You come out with a strong opening. We got a Bayou. We got a Tundra. We've got a Ruby. We've got a Llanowar Elves. We've got a Script
Yeah.
Sprite. I mean, and he's throwing out an orb, and he's gonna pass because I don't think there's anything else he can do. And I think you just save that orb. don't you?
Yeah, I
what
think,
do you-
yeah.
What do you take out with it at this point? Maybe you use it on that factory that you just played.
And remember, so in the Paladin format, there's only one factory per deck, so he knows that's the only factory.
Yeah, I mean, the factory is a problem, and then is that an Efreet? Is that a Serendib Efreet?
So it's just an Arabian Nights Knight.
It is. It's got the Efreets. It's got the Djinns.
And again, it's like at this point, I'm like already just feeling pressure and not great. Like,
yeah. That Efreet is a great card.
At least I have the. Yeah.
I think it's a 3/4.
I would again if I had the Scribe Sprite to block. At least I could block a chump block a flyer.
Right. Now, what is he targeting with that? He does target the factory.
What you called, yeah.
Yeah. I mean that makes sense. It definitely makes sense. Because you're getting rid of a mana source, you're getting rid of a 2/2 attacker.
And since I do run Mana Flare, it's I can sink extra mana into it. It's a strong card.
Exactly. So you can avoid that mana burn. Yeah. So no, yeah. It just makes sense. So he is attacking with the Efreet. You are going to take 3. Not going to chump yet.
No. Yeah, that is good about having the chump. But I feel like it's early. I don't need to yet. If he unstable mutations again, I could chump it for a turn.
Right.
Mana, not an issue.
Yeah, quite a bit. Even after losing one. So you're just going to attack with the 1/1 and the 1/1, do another 2 damage. You're leaving yourself open here for another attack from the Efreet.
Yeah.
Now, if he can do work up any spice on it, you wouldn't be able to chump it at this point.
I do leave myself very open here. Which again, I think I'm too used to playing those red aggressive decks there in that move. But it looks like he's going to tap quite a bit.
He's doing something. Something's happening. Oh, it's an actual if-biff.
Yeah, the actual, not the busted.
Not the busted revised Serendib Efreet.
Now,
so another spicy card that you don't see very often.
And interesting because I have a lot of green mana on the board, so I could activate.
You do.
I could kill it. I could activate it 3 times and kill it. But I thought, I was like, okay.
But I think
he's a man of tricks tonight, so I was like, okay.
He is.
A lot of green mana, but he plays that out. I respect the Arabian Nights theme that he has going, though.
It's strong.
Yeah. Now, if Biff has flying, I believe. Right?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
That little Scribe Sprite.
Yeah, it's got a really cool ability, and it's also still a 3/3 flyer too. It's a really neat card.
And the Serendib's a 3/4 flyer, so you can't kill it with the FBF. It's
No. So there's a lot of mana on
now
the
again,
board.
that factory is in the graveyard. I pass turn.
Yes, that is not there. But even with that in the graveyard, there's a lot of mana on both sides. Ooh, and is that an Inferno?
That is Inferno. I would say rarely played in old school.
Very rarely.
6 damage to all creatures and all players.
That's a pretty spicy
And most
meatball.
people, I forget that it's an instant. So I pass turn and cast it on his turn.
That is interesting, because you would expect something like that to be a sorcery, and not an instant. So he's going to go down to 5. Yes. And you're going to go down to...
unfortunately, my very expensive webcam decides to get blurry. I think I'm on like 6 or 7 or something.
Something like that. Eventually
this is where you cheat. You make the video blurry and give yourself life, right? Like
you kind of just move the dice around and go, look at that. I have 27 life.
So he does wind up just playing out mana source, passing. I'm trying to fix my camera here. I played out a volcanic island and pass. So I had no plan post Inferno. I just played.
That was just kind of like a thing you really wanted to get rid of those two
Yeah,
creatures, and then kind of like
yeah.
set the board over, right, and then go from there. So let's see. Now you are tutoring. Even with the blur, I can see that's a tutor.
It's actually like a Strixhaven tutor, but the blur hides it. It's
Yeah. I think probably the best thing to do with this is kind of turn off the autofocus and just do a manual focus.
Yeah, I didn't. It's a new webcam.
You know.
I didn't even know the features of it. It just decided to. But yes,
Yeah.
it is a tutor. So here's the thing. So now the question is, what do you tutor for? And I will give you a hint here that I have a Black Lotus in my hand.
Ooh.
So I think this tutor takes me a while because I'm like Sheevan Dragon, Ancestral Recall. What do you go for?
Do you have a fireball? You haven't used a fireball, have you?
There is 2 fireballs.
2 fireballs. So I mean,
Now, granted, he's showing Counterspell, and I don't know if he's running Counterspell.
we haven't seen
Right.
one.
So, because I think, so I would have, I mean, then I would blow this whole turn if he counters it would be bad. So there's the Lotus.
Right. There's the fireball.
And that's it. He does not have
I think it's,
a counter.
he doesn't have a counter. So yeah, I mean, it's a big risk. You gotta say. So I mean, yes, he's showing he's got a lot. He's running a lot of blue, right? But we haven't seen him use a counter.
We haven't seen it.
And he had, what do you have, a Berserk and a
Unstable Mutation.
mutation.
So again, it was like if he had a counter, I just wasted my Lotus, my tutor, and the Fireball. So I said that would win me.
But I mean, if it worked, you win the
you
game.
win
So
game
I
three.
mean, it
So
works
somehow
out.
Inferno winds up saving me. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a great card. Excellent card. And like you said, not used very often.
No.
Not used enough, probably.
All right.
Excellent games.
Fun games, and we'll be back.